Sports 760, John Schaefer, Sammy Long back with us, hanging out for the next hour or so. We've got what I would call, how would you describe this show? Like, it's kind of like a split show, which makes sense because we're in March. We get the split squad baseball. It's a split show because for an hour plus, we'll see how long Sammy sticks around. You got me and Sammy here right now. I'm out at 4. Because there's an Aztecs game tonight at 7. Now, you might say, well, why are you leaving at 4 for a game at 7? And you sound like Jim Russell. I don't know why. But Jonathan Rifkin is working from 4 to 6. Because it's one of those situations, Sammy, where I can't work till 6 and then call a game at 7 at Viejas. Because it's like traffic, you got to set up equipment. But could I work longer than 4? Yeah, I could. Sure. But I'm not going to today because J-Riff is in from 4 to 6.
If you work till 6.
Yeah.
I know people listening are like, shut up, because you guys all have like actual hard jobs and stuff. Right, jobs. Exactly.
Right.
So we know how privileged we are. But we like there is a thing when you talk for 4 hours where when someone talks to you in right outside the studio, you need like 15 minutes of silence. I don't know about you.
Oh, I buy that.
After you get off the show,
you just want to like chill.
Like there's like 15 minutes. It's like, I don't want to be rude to people. I just don't want to talk to anyone. I need to like not use my vocal cords for about 15 minutes.
It's interesting you say that. I'm sometimes like that. I get asked the question sometimes like, oh, did you go home and just not talk? I'm like, no, not really.
No.
But I will say sometimes the job, and again, you made a really good point there, which is like our listeners are like doing things a lot harder than us.
Real stuff.
Doing real jobs.
Real jobs.
So we're not trying to pretend like what we do is harder than what you do, because it's not. But there are times where you are just like, it's just kind of taxing sometimes.
So to your point, if you had gone till 6, the hour between the game, you would need to be on vocal rest. And when you walked
I'm racing over there. You know what I mean? And then you're thinking, well, what if there's traffic, or what if I'm not going to make it?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I don't know if you've ever had this as like a broadcaster. I mean, you're a young broadcaster, but do you ever have like a recurring dream nightmare in life where you're like not at the station on time?
I've had that before.
Cursed on air.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that actually.
Yeah, everyone has. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's like those weird recurring dreams that people have. Anyway, J-Riff will be here from 4 to 6, getting us ready for Aztecs basketball. It is senior night here tonight. In addition, I'm just trying to look right now. I am all over the place. What giveaways do we have today, Brian? I don't even. Do we have
Safari Park, right?
Safari Park
and
BMP.
Tennis, yeah.
And tennis. All right. So we do have good giveaways. We'll give those away. We'll give Safari Park tickets away actually this hour here on San Diego Sports 760. Here's where I wanted to start. And you would never expect in a million years I would necessarily start here because it's a little out of left field, but I could easily tie it together. And it's about the Padres. It involves the partial sale of LAFC. So what the hell does that have to do with the Padres? Who cares, right? Well, here is what's reported at Sportico today. Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai, who resides in San Diego. I want to say he raised his family, his children in San Diego. He owns the San Diego Seals, the professional lacrosse team in town. He owns the Nets as well in Brooklyn. But Joe Tsai and Fanatics Collectibles CEO Mike Mahan have sold their stakes in LAFC at a $1.25 billion valuation. Now, hear me out. That does not mean they just sold $1.25 billion's worth of LAFC. The franchise is worth $1.25 billion. Whatever Joe Tsai and this Fanatics gentleman, Mike Mahan, had, they get a percent of that. If Joe Tsai had 5%, he gets 5% of $1.25 billion.
Okay.
If he had 25%, he gets 25% of $1.25 billion. But it's under the premise of he's got a percent, the team is worth $1.25 billion. He gets whatever that percentage equates to. So how do I tie that to the Padres? Well, there's 5 ownership groups that have put in initial bids. We've only heard about 4 of them. Correct? We've only heard about 4.
Yeah, the 5th one's been a mystery for a while now.
Is this at all tied to that? Is this 2 + 2 = 4, or is this 2 + 2 = 16? And I'm way off the beaten path.
Well, if it's Joe Tsai, when they originally heard this, I remember talking about it with Fletch on air. Like, he made a lot of sense. San Diegan, very rich. From an NBA perspective, what Brooklyn's been able to do, never been a big franchise, but they lured Kyrie and Kevin Durant away from the Knicks. You remember that summer?
Yes,
and I know there's a salary cap. You can only offer a certain amount of money, but part of that was the kind of branding of Brooklyn. It's one of the great arenas experiences per what I've heard so far in the NBA, and it made it kind of a cool experience at Barclays to enjoy a Nets game. And so I always thought Joe Tsai would be in on it. And then when I heard that the Padres were looking to sell the team, he would certainly be one of the guys. But yeah, I mean, and I guess we keep going back to this because if you're from San Diego, does that mean that you care about the team moving forward? But if that's a concern of a lot of people, which understandably it is, whoever's buying the team, you're not just setting the Padres in your back pocket, but you're interested in making them a winning ball club, taking them to new heights. I feel like if Joe Tsai, obviously in San Diego in some investments and owning the Padres might be a prime candidate for someone who cares about the team and wants to see them have success and spend like they want to have success.
It could be a reach. I mean, here's the thing. I want to say Joe Tsai is among the richest owners in sports. Now, again, you're already at a threshold. When you own in sports, you're rich, right? I mean, it's like it's an oxymoron.
But
right?
some people are cash rich and some people are team rich.
And like rich. Like co-founder of Alibaba, he's had serious wealth. Plus, the wealth has only grown through a number of acquisitions, including the Nets. These franchises don't lose value. The TV deal alone that the NBA recently signed has propped up the values of these franchises. I guess my point is, I don't think he needs a percent of $1.25 billion to buy the Padres. I think he could do it without a percent of $1.25 billion to be a potential buyer. Plus, even if he were to buy the Padres, is he a minority owner? Is he a majority owner? We're talking about price tags in the $3 billion range is what's been speculated on. It could be more than that. It would be the richest sale in baseball history. But I don't think Joe Tsai needs, I'm making it up, I don't think he needs the $300 million to then go put in the $3 billion bid because he is so well off. And again, the majority owner of the Brooklyn Nets, his purchase of the Nets was a significant.
Well, it was always funny when the Lakers got sold for $10 billion. People would assume that the owner of the Lakers is a lot richer than the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. And Mark Walter is up there with Joe Tsai now. But Jeannie Buss, the Buss family, was a prime example of kind of like the Seidlers. They're cash rich, or they're not cash rich. They're rich in terms of owning a team in the Los Angeles Lakers brand. But the Buss family was never one of the richest owners. In fact, they were one of the poorest owners in the NBA,
which is interesting
when you thought about it. So Joe Tsai would make a lot of sense. And I'm curious, we saw potentially Drew Brees and the owner of Viore, Kudla, whatever, trying to attach somebody. I'm excited to see if there's more. There's going to be a public face like Magic Johnson is for the Dodgers. He's the one that goes out and speaks, even though he only has a small percentage in the team. Are we going to see more Drew Brees? Are we going to see a Phillip Rivers? Just former San Diego legends that are going to be attached to a bid that maybe kind of puts you over the top if you are competing with multiple other offers per reports.
I mean, you just go to Google and it may or may not be accurate, but I'm looking at multiple articles. His net worth is certainly over $10 billion, which is insane. And it could be as high as like 20, but they put it at 12.8. But who even knows? I mean, when you have that type of wealth, you could accumulate a lot more in a short period of time. Compounding interest is basically how that works. Plus the value of everything you've acquired. I mean, it only goes up by and large. So he does that. I guess what I'm saying is all this hey, he sold off a piece of LAFC. Okay. He's a minority owner. Let's say he's got 1% or 10%. I'm not saying it's pennies or chump change. It matters.
To him, it's kind of chump change.
When you have 13 billion, let's say, and let's say you just sold off 5% of LAFC and you got 50 or $100 million. That's a very small percentage of his net worth is the point. So I don't think he needs 50 or 100 or $200 million even to be the majority owner or the next owner of the San Diego Padres. I mean, this man is heavily invested in sports. He owns 2 professional lacrosse league teams. He played lacrosse as a youngster in America. He went to Yale. He owns the Brooklyn Nets. He was at one point rumored to have an interest in being a part of a sports arena project in San Diego. So he's clearly, I guess, at the end of the day, he's clearly a sports fan. I mean, you don't own multiple sports. He owns the New York Liberty, by the way, as well. So he's a sports fan. And again, it's not just out of left field San Diego. He's resided in San Diego. I don't know if he currently resides in San Diego, but he has resided in San Diego. So you put it all together, it would make sense.
It makes sense. And it's like looking at the Brooklyn Nets, obviously his biggest evaluation. That team on brand, the Brooklyn Nets haven't had big time success. But one thing you can say for Joe Tsai, and Nets fans would I think back me up on this, he has tried to win. I mean, he has tried to put big three together after big three together. James Harden, with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, they've took big swings.
Yep.
Not that necessarily has equated to wins, because it hasn't. That big three did not work out. But one thing you can't say about the Brooklyn Nets is that they certainly haven't tried. And it's like the Clippers trying to compete with the Lakers. You're playing in a city where the Knicks are one of the biggest brands in the NBA, and the Nets have constantly been swinging for the fences, trying to put a product on the floor that could go win. Now, I know baseball is a different story because there is a salary cap in the NBA, but if we're looking at it as a microcosm, if how he's approached the Nets is how he's approaching the NBA, there's no reason to suggest that his hometown team, the Padres, he might not have just as much interest in trying to spend money for a product on the field.
I mean, honestly, Sammy, when I put it all together, when you think about the Premier League owners, one of which was born in San Diego, you think about Joe Lacob and all the winning and success, the arena that was built. I think about, again, there was the Drew Brees Vuori talk. We don't really know if they're tied to a group or not. So we don't really know about the fourth or fifth group, truthfully, because we thought the fourth group was Vuori Breeze.
Right now, they want
really
to attach.
not. It's really so. But I guess all things being equal, here's my point: if someone told me, "Hey, pick an owner among those groups," Lacob, Tsai, Friedkin, Jose Feliciano, Premier League team, I'm taking Tsai in a heartbeat. Because it's tying everything together. It's net worth. It's San Diego ties. It's professional sports experience. You understand the dynamics at play. You understand how to, work the system, so to speak. Now, to your point, it's not like Brooklyn has been the preeminent franchise in basketball.
But they've tried. They've tried.
Exactly. And the sports are different. Baseball is obviously a lot different than basketball. So, I mean, I would say, and I'd love to hear from Padres fans, 877-767-4760. Again, we have no knowledge that he's put in a bid.
Right.
And we also have no knowledge that even if he was part of a bid, if he was representing ownership, you could own 1% of a team and not really have to say on the way the team's going to be operated. But if all things were equal and I knew that Joe Tsai was one of the bids, I'm taking Joe Tsai.
I'm curious what people think in terms of pros and cons, because Joe Lacob, per all reports, is one of the poorest of any of the owners interested or potential bidders. But he also built a dynasty in Golden State. And I think people forget that Golden State was a real afterthought in the NBA before Curry and Klay Thompson, everyone came along. Golden State was a Brooklyn Nets type franchise. Or are people strictly going towards the money? Are they going Friedkin with what, 10 billion in net worth, and Joe Tsai looking like maybe 13 billion
plus, yeah.
So is it just about the money, or is it about a proven track record of having sustained success in whatever sport it may be? And to your point, it's hard to compare. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. NBA, you're getting draft lottery picks where you are getting stars at the top of the draft. But it's an interesting conversation, and I wonder how it's being weighed with John Seiler, or if it's simply just about who has the highest bid.
There's that possibility. David Leland weighing in on Twitter. You can always tag us at Jon and Jim. It's possible Tsai sold LAFC to get a few $100 million to up his bid against or ahead of Friedkin or a Lacob-led group. Yeah, I mean, I buy it. I'm not. It's not to say that 50, 100, $200 million has no value. I'm sure it does. I'm sure. Listen. You could have all the money in the world. You can't tell me $50 million isn't still of value.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and again, everything's different. But listen, I mean, you could make $100,000 a year or $10 an hour. We all think that, if you had $10,000 in front of you, it's $10,000. Like, I don't care if you make 200 grand or if you make $10 an hour, it's still money. And I'm sure a billionaire still sees millions of dollars as a lot of money. So it could provide value. We'll continue that discussion on the other side. Again, we've got giveaways for you throughout the course of the day, including a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We'll give away those tickets. That's brand new. It's now open. Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We'll give away those tickets. Coming up later this hour, we'll get you ready for senior night at Viejas Arena as well. Just underway. John Schaefer, Sammy Long. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Let me try to get Sammy in here.
I'm in. Locked and loaded.
But whenever I try, I am.
Talk about whatever in the meantime.
There we go. There. So this is the issue. Sometimes it's just like, can we get rid of YouTube, please?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but we're back. I do want to remind you that we've got these tickets for the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, the new Elephant Valley. It's now open. You can get up close and roam alongside the world's largest land animals all week. We've got chances for you to win a family 4-pack of tickets to see Elephant Valley. The elephants aren't the only ones who'll never forget Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We'll give those away this hour. So we're talking about Joe Tsai, who is, again, longtime San Diego resident, co-founder of Alibaba, owner of the Brooklyn Nets, owner of the San Diego Seals. Of course, the San Diego Padres are on the market. The only reason we're tying him to the Padres in this exact moment is that it has been reported by Sportico within the last 24 hours that Tsai has sold off shares of LAFC. Talk about, by the way, again, a sports guy. That wasn't even really public knowledge that he was a minority owner. I think there's some that were aware of that, but that wasn't really public knowledge. So now, okay, LAFC, Seals, another lacrosse team in Vegas, Liberty, Nets. Like, this guy has hung his hat on sports franchises. There's other people with $13 billion have no desire to do anything in sports. This guy at one point or another has owned 5+ professional sports teams and lives in San Diego. Why on earth would he not go down the path of trying to pursue the San Diego Padres?
If it's about winning, I mean, the Padres are a unique team on sale. I guess it's, the Seahawks are on sale too, and they just won a Super Bowl. But we're starting to see teams that are in the picture. Seahawks won a Super Bowl. The Padres are perennially in the playoff conversation, or at least a relevant baseball team. Normally we're hearing the Marlins, the A's, teams that are full rebuilds, and baseball might be the toughest sport to completely rebuild a team because it takes a full pitching staff, a full hitting staff. It's hard. One star can't just change everything. Look at the Angels and Mike Trout for a decade plus. But I mean, you talk about a gorgeous stadium built, a rabid fan base that is recognized nationally. I know people don't like Mookie Betts, but Mookie Betts said it on his podcast. Remember, he's like,
that place is great.
He's like, you guys. He's like, shout out to San Diego. He's like, you guys support your team. He's like, that is a genuinely hard place to play on the road. That can't be said for a lot of cities in America. So, I mean, it's a team that has marketable stars on it. Fernando Tatis Jr., Machado, and Merrill. It kind of checks all the boxes, especially if you're a potential owner who wants to try to win something, because it doesn't seem like an organization you would just kind of sit in your back pocket, because it is such a rabid fan base, and you are going to get crushed if you kind of do the John Seidler where you don't spend a lot of money.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's who he would be. I don't think someone with ties to the market, that, like, when you have everything available to you and you choose San Diego, then San Diego matters to you. Like, he doesn't have to live in San Diego.
Right.
Like, I want to say he's spent a good amount of time in Hong Kong, but in the U.S., he has obviously residence in New York. I mean, he owns the Brooklyn Nets, presumably, and then he has a residence in North County as well. So, like, he chose San Diego. And again, I used to work for the Seals. I'm pretty confident in saying, like, he raised his children and may still be raising his children in San Diego. His children have gone to schools in San Diego. Like, so I don't think, my whole point is, you don't just buy the Padres, like, oh, let me buy it for 3 and spin it for 4. Like, I don't think that would be the attitude. Like, this is a great transaction. Let me just buy it and sell it. And well, who cares about the success of the team? No, it's a guy that has owned successful sports franchises. So he desires to do that. And then you couple it with his, I don't know if it's his hometown, but certainly an adopted hometown for Joe Tsai. Shoot, we had him on the radio on 1360. When the Seals came here. You're going back 6-7 years. And he spoke very highly of San Diego in that. I mean, he could not have spoken more highly of San Diego in that conversation. So there is no world where Joe Tsai, if he were to buy the San Diego Padres, would do anything other than, use everything in his power to win.
Someone in the chat saying that believes Joe Tsai also tried to buy the Carolina Panthers. I mean, you're talking about someone who wants to be in on every major sports league. And Yeah, it's just, and again with the lockout next year, if you weren't interested in putting a winner on the field, why would you be trying to buy a baseball team ahead of a lockout? Because the fact that you're going to likely lose money for the first couple of years, you're going to be in the red.
Right.
So if you're just going to pocket this thing and sell it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to buy right now. The fact that the lockout is happening, is kind of forcing the Seidler's hand to be like, hey, we don't really want to run this team anymore after the late great Peter Seidler passed, and we want to move on from this. And the lockout, because you're going to go in the red, is kind of forcing the hand. And looking on the optimist side is everyone who's interested in purchasing the team. If you're willing to go in the red for a few years, you got big pocketbooks because Joe Tsai can lose a couple $100 million pocket change to him. And if you're going to kind of take on the mess of Major League Baseball and the lockout, don't you want to see success in the future? It's just one way of looking at it and positive outlook.
I want to tell you on the other side, my ridiculous Barclays Center Brooklyn Nets story.
Really?
And I have to share with you on the other side and our listeners. We are also giving away tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park coming up next. We've got a 4-pack of tickets. The brand new Elephant Valley now open at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We're giving away a 4-pack of tickets. We're getting you ready for senior night at Viejas Arena. Final home game for Reese Dixon Waters and potentially others for San Diego State. We will discuss on the other side. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by San Diego Wave FC. The Raiders are set to release quarterback Geno Smith unless they can trade him. The Bills have cut cornerback Taron Johnson and wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Tonight, Team USA takes on Brazil at 5:00 in the World Baseball Classic. And it's also senior night down at Viejas Arena tonight when they take on UNLV. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will begin at 6:00, and John will have the tip after 7. It's time to pack Snapdragon Stadium, San Diego. Wave FC is back for the home opener on Saturday, March 14th at 5:45 p.m. Tickets start at just $20. Visit SanDiegoWaveFC.com today to secure your seats. Vamos Wave.
All right, we'll give away San Diego Zoo Safari Park tickets in 10 minutes. Make sure I do that, Brent, because you don't forget in 10 minutes. But we have San Diego Zoo Safari Park tickets to give away, and we'll do that coming up shortly. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Brent Sperry. We're here until 4, but then don't go anywhere. Jonathan Rifkin will be hanging out from 4 to 6. Then we've got Aztec pregame coverage from 6 to 7. Then senior night tonight at 7 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs and Rebels, running Rebels, tonight from Viejas Arena. I want to get into that, and we will. I have to share the story with both of you and our listeners. It's because it's just so ridiculous. In a previous lifetime before I moved out here, so like in the early 2010s, I was calling games for the St. Peter's Peacocks, of course, right? The Aztecs.
Wait, the team that went on the run in the March Madness?
Yeah. But 10 years before they did. 5 years. And at this, and you should like, I can't even put St. Peter's in perspective for any of our listeners unless you know. Their campus is a block in Jersey City. It's like you wouldn't even know. You're just walking down the street, and there's like, have you ever been to a YMCA that it's just like the gym and the pool are all like just kind of attached, and then there's like the men's locker room and like just like a steamy like gym workout facility? That's St. Peter's home gym. Like you walk in and you go through the like, what's that, like turnstile thing? Yeah. And you either make like a left to go to the pool or a right to go to the Yanatelli Center, which is like their high school gym. I mean, Laura Marin's gym ran circles around this place, right? I mean, there would be to the point where like you'd look up in the ceiling and I'd come in before the games and they'd have buckets on the court because it was leaking from the ceiling before a Division I game in the MAC, MAAC. It'd be like St. Peter's against Iona. Iona ran that league back then. And then St. Peter's with Shaheen Holloway, who would end up at Seton Hall, went on that run. Anyway, I was there when this was, in terms of resources and budget, there is no program in America 12 years ago with less resources than St. Peter's. Like it was like nickels and pen. Like there was just, I don't even know how it operated. Anyway, so I'm calling this game like a web stream one day. And I was then supposed to call a game at the Barclays Center with Gary Cohen, TV voice of the Mets, who also was the Seton Hall radio voice and still is and has been doing it for 20 plus years. Basically, it's just because he loves doing games on radio, but he was doing Mets on TV. But he came up a radio guy and loves doing stuff on radio. And he's honestly, I would argue Gary's as good, if not better, doing radio, Seton Hall, than he is doing Mets on TV. And he gets high praise for Mets on television. So anyway, Jersey City to Brooklyn is like miles, not a lot. Like you could Google it right now, like 5, like not a lot of miles, 10, you know what I mean? So like from here to downtown, like whatever, you get there in 20 minutes. If there's traffic, who cares? It takes 40 minutes. Well, it's New York. And I don't know what I was thinking. I cut it too close where like the game at St. Peter's ended at 4 p.m. and Seton Hall was playing, I don't even know who they played, at 7 p.m. And it took me 3 hours to get from Jersey City to Brooklyn. But this goes back to like the recurring nightmare fear. I'm always am I going to make it on time? Am I going to have the equipment? Is everything going to be okay? I was so nervous for whatever reason because like basically like Gary was relying on me. I think he was always with like a second broadcaster and I was filling in for the primary second broadcaster. And I said I was good for it, even though I had these 2 events. I made it with like minutes to spare. I was freaking out.
Got everything hooked up.
I think ultimately what happened, dude, this is how ridiculous it was. I was driving from Jersey City to Brooklyn. You could just hop on like some train or subway, but I didn't know how to do that, nor did I want to. I just had my car in Jersey City. I'm like, well, I'm just going to drive. Maybe a Saturday night, probably was. Saturday afternoon into Saturday night. I'm sure it was. And I'm driving and it's such an S show that I park my car somewhere in Manhattan get on like, I don't even know, like the 1-2-3 train and take it to the Barclays Center. Cause I'm like, I can't get there otherwise. The traffic at the bridges and the tunnels was so crazy. I just like parked in some like $100 lot. I don't know what it costs, but some ridiculous New York lot.
Right, you're like, I
figure out the subway. I'm like, how do I get to Barclays? Because I know I can do it from Manhattan. Just tell me how to do it. And I made it with like minutes to spare. And then after the game, I had to randomly get back to like some random parking lot in Manhattan.
And you probably don't remember
like
that
the longest day of my career.
But look where you are now, anyway, John.
But
voice of the Aztecs.
It's a long way of me saying this is why I'm leaving today at 4 p.m. because I got to make sure I get to Viejas Arena for senior night. It is so here's who they're honoring tonight for senior night, because Miles Byrd will be honored, 4th-year player, but does have a year of eligibility. He will graduate from San Diego State this spring. Reese Dixon Waters out of eligibility. Both Byrd and Dixon Waters for me are all-time favorites, having watched them up close like this. And then you've also got the 2 one-year players in Jeremiah Oden. Has not gone the way I'm sure he thought it would heading into the year. Although he's had some moments, certainly. Sean Newman Jr., the point guard who's from LA, transferred in from Louisiana Tech, and then a walk-on, Cam Lewine, who's also a 4th-year player with San Diego State. But and then who knows beyond that? Because we talked about this yesterday. Who knows beyond that? Because the roster could change. But anyway, if you're heading out to Viejas tonight, you're going to see some players likely for a final time in an Aztec uniform. But that's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah, it's cool. Senior nights are always fun when you get obviously a lot of hard work over 4 years. And tonight's an interesting night because we were talking about it yesterday. Everyone would like for them to win a share of the Mountain West Conference title, regular season title. But to me, that's like the least important thing that's happening tonight. It's cool seeing the seniors get honored. And then it's, they're 10.5 point favorites tonight. Now they're 9.5 against UNLV. So big favorites in this game, but you're heading into next week because you have this kind of emotional night for the seniors, at Viejas last home game. And then you're trying to break a potential 3-game losing streak, because then you got to go on a 3-game winning streak next week.
Right.
And I heard, Coach Dutcher talking to you about how it's like, you feel like these last couple of weeks they've been right there. And it's just been, there's been some real highs and real lows. Colorado State being a low, and then obviously beating Utah State. This game tonight is odd in that I don't want to call it a preseason game, because it's a real game that matters, and you're competing for in the Mountain West for your record. But it does feel like it has to be just a get right game for next week, when there's no more ramp up. It's put up or shut up time. You got to win 3 straight games to get in the NCAA tournament. So it's kind of an odd little game here in between this brutal schedule and the Mountain West tournament.
You're right. Like, I agree that, like, on one hand, it doesn't mean a lot, and on the other hand, it means everything.
Yeah.
And I would probably lean towards the everything, because what are the odds that you would lose 3 straight games to finish your season and then win 3 games in Las Vegas? Can you possibly have the fortitude? That's hard, man. Athletes, they're people too. Like, it's hard to avoid all the noise. It's hard to lock in and focus. And I think tonight is a chance to kind of reset. If you win tonight, I don't think come next Thursday, Miles Byrd, Reese Dixon Waters, Magoon Guath are like, well, we got out rebounded at Boise 10 days ago.
I agree.
That's irrelevant. You lose tonight. And by the way, UNLV is damn capable. This team is like bizarro world, good and bad at the same time. They've had they have the most quad 1 wins out of the P4 than anyone in the country, tied with Gonzaga.
They also competition, play down.
And they also have 4 quad 4 losses. So they have 4 quad 4 or quad 1 wins and 4 quad 4 losses. I think I have that right. They have one of the best scores in the nation. Dre Gibbs Longhorn will get millions from someone next year. Millions. He's already getting paid well. He was at Illinois for 2 years. He averaged in February 30.7 points per game. I mean, that's insane for college. That's completely insane. Now, the Aztecs won the first meeting, but I'm just saying UNLV has talent. And it's also, you go into this thing with like the nothing to lose mentality.
Right, it's their senior night. Who cares?
You ruin it. I was in the building the night the Aztecs were 26-0, hoisting a banner for the Mountain West champions. So with games remaining, UNLV was the opponent, and UNLV beat them. That is a massive underdog. Had to be between 15 and 20 points that night. And that was their only regular season loss before Utah State and then before the pandemic.
That's the way you put it, is it's very important and not important at the same time.
Yeah.
But I would lean that it's important, because although whether they win or lose tonight has no real bearing on whether they're in March Madness. It really doesn't mean anything at all.
Tournament.
It is such a. It's weird how you have an emotional night. A senior night is always emotional. Last home game of the season, with not a lot of stakes in terms of March Madness, which is always your ultimate goal. But also how, right, to your point, they're people too. I mean, doubt's always going to creep in. If you're on a 3-game losing streak, we talked about Colorado State is going to be a lower seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament, and yet they played some of the best basketball in Boise State in the last couple of weeks in the Mountain West. So I'm curious how the rotations go tonight. If it's a close game, and they're not going to tell us this obviously, but if they're going to go all out to win this thing, obviously they want to win. I'm not saying that they don't want to win, but is health more of a priority for next week versus trying to get a gritty win if this UNLV team does come to play, which, they certainly can.
I think you have to win this game and you have to treat this game like you have to win this game. And let me explain a couple of reasons why beyond what we've said. They haven't lost 3 straight since 2018. It's the second longest streak in America. They don't want to lose 3 straight because they just don't lose 3 straight. And the other thing is, yes, health is of utmost importance and could be a deciding or determining factor for them if they are to make it or not. But going from a Friday to a Thursday is so much time in basketball.
It is nice they're playing tonight, not tomorrow.
They're the only team with this much time off because even UNLV playing Friday, they play a day before the Aztecs in the opening round. They'll play on Wednesday. Still a good amount of time off. San Diego State after tonight can take multiple days off, which they haven't had in forever. They can take Saturday and Sunday off. They can go light Monday. They can go hard Tuesday. They can go light Wednesday. I mean, that's a lot of time. Now, it's not a lot of time for a significant injury, but for bumps and bruises, a sprain or a strain, it allows you, it affords you the opportunity to get healthier. So nobody can predict what's going to happen, obviously, tonight on the floor with health. But I think by and large, you have to treat this like you need to win it because you have the time. What is always tough at the NCAA tournament is like the Big Ten championship is Sunday afternoon. It's like Purdue, Michigan State.
I have never
they're playing in Chicago. They get back to campus late at night, right? Or whenever it is. Then one of those two teams is probably playing on a Thursday. They could be playing at noon Eastern in Nashville or San Diego, or whatever, Boston. That's a tighter turnaround. When you consider all the logistics and you got to practice and you got to travel. That's not really the case right now for San Diego State. They have the benefit of time, an extra day or two that could be their secret weapon, honestly, in Las Vegas.
And I heard you guys play the Miles Bird clip yesterday about he shouldn't bet on the Mountain West Conference tournament, which is pretty funny because it is so true in that everyone kind of cannibalizes each other. It is so it's a very, I equated it on our show earlier a lot to the old Pac-12 when the Pac-12 was playing football outside of Oregon. There wasn't a lot of top tier teams, USC 25 years ago, but the last decade and a half,
they beat each other up.
USC, UCLA, Arizona State, a lot of solid teams, Washington State, not great teams. And so the Pac-12 was always kind of out of that 14 playoff. It feels like that's what the Mountain West has been this year. And the Aztecs are obviously certainly capable of winning 3 straight games next week. But to your point, I mean, tonight is a big game for getting momentum back.
All right, call right now if you want a free 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Caller 7. They are yours. 877-767-4760. Caller 7, you have a free 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park and the brand new Elephant Valley. 877-767-4760. The new Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park lets you get up close and roam with the largest land animals on Earth. The elephants are not the only ones who will never forget Elephant Valley now open. All right, we're going to touch on the Padres who will play later today in Arizona. We're here until 4 p.m. Jonathan Rifkin takes over at 4. We're getting you ready for senior night at Viejas Arena as well. Plus, what does Adam Silver plan to do for once and for all fix tanking in the NBA? We have the latest. Stay with us here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Adam Silver has a plan to fix tanking. Have you seen it, Brent? Because Brent loves this stuff. So to say, have you seen this today?
I have not seen the new Adam Silver stuff. I saw it last week. I didn't see.
No, there's new from Sports Business Journal. They have quotes from Silver. All right, he says substantial changes are coming next year to address the league's growing tanking concerns. He was speaking at this sports analytics conference, there's this MIT sports analytic conference that gets like commissioners and owners. It's a really big event, and he has spoken there before. He said that he didn't want to commit to a specific solution. He says they're evaluating everything, including listen to this, the possibility of separating draft order from team record. A move he said would completely disincentivize tanking, but also create shockwaves. He also said he prefer to do things incrementally and not just go all in a change to address tanking. But hear that out for 1 second. The possibility of separating draft order from team records. Like, do we understand what he's saying? He's saying anyone can pick anywhere. There is no tanking if anyone, not just teams out of the postseason or in the postseason.
Right, that can't work.
Anyone can pick anywhere. That's like saying Oklahoma City can pick one.
Right. I mean, you're talking about that's a disastrous idea. Like I was with, Brent, we were talking last week. Like, I mean, if you're going to put caps on whether you can only pick in the top 5 in back-to-back years, like things like that sure, de-incentivizes just complete tanking. But right. I mean, what? So Oklahoma City and San Antonio could get the top 2 picks next year and they're landing Darren Peterson.
Yeah, if you just said, and I mean, this is the extreme version of this. The extreme version of this is there's 30 teams and they all have a 3.3% chance of getting the top pick. That's the extreme version of drafting. Just anyone can draft anywhere. Best team could draft last. Best team could draft first. And same thing with the worst team. They're not going to go that far. But I do think that the general premise is we need to create rules that are going to prevent this from occurring. Like you at least have to try to stop the Utah Jazz from playing their players in the fourth quarter because they have a lead. Like you have to at least do something. And we rolled out 5 or 10 ideas that were thrown out within the last couple of weeks. The point is they're doing something. They're not going to do that. I mean, that would be utterly shocking if you just said, hey, all 30 teams are going to pick anywhere from 1 through 30 based on where the ping pong balls come out. They're not going to do that, but they're certainly going to be doing something next year.
Yeah, if they went that far, it could potentially destroy the league.
They could.
Because, it's not going to
be insane.
It's not going to help the teams that actually need it. Potentially, I guess it could based on the odds. But, you could also have, the final 4 teams in the playoffs, have the top 4 picks, multiple years. And, that's not going to help anyone. It's like you said, it'd be like OKC getting the number 1 pick this year. That's not going to help, Sacramento at all. And, I don't know. I liked all the other options that he had last week way more than this one.
Well, and it's like, to be fair to teams that aren't good, it sucks for people who you're watching teams with basically G League rosters, but tanking does work. Like if you to an extent,
sure. Yeah, no, there's teams that have benefited from it.
If you're the Jazz, you're not a high profile, sexy destination.
So you need talent via the draft.
You need talent via the draft. Yeah. And you add Darren Peterson with Markkanen and Jaren Jackson next year. Yeah. All of a sudden there's something there. My one problem with it that gets a little like the Indiana Pacers playing the Lakers tonight.
Yep.
The Pacers in the NBA Finals last year, they're just a bad team because Halliburton ripped his Achilles. Right. They're not like trying to tank. They're simply not winning games because they don't have enough talent on the floor to be winning games. It's such a tricky problem. But yeah, I mean, to your point, if you're looking at another Golden State Warrior dynasty, if you go that way, because if Oklahoma City lands a top pick, if San Antonio, Detroit, I mean, it's kind of over for the league.
Let me ask you this. Here's the direct quote, by the way. We're going to make substantial changes for next year. He then goes on to say, on one hand, you can completely divorce the draft from teams' records. That would be a major shock to the system. Not to completely forecast where we're going, but I am an incrementalist. So as if to say, they're not going to 180 it based on what Adam Silver is quoted as saying at a public conference, but they are going to make significant changes. Now, real quick, Brent, before you chime in, Yeah, I'm with you. Like, hey, you allow something like that to happen, you divorce teams from the record in the draft, and you might end up with another Golden State. But isn't the NBA predicated on that? Isn't the best eras in the history of the league Showtime, Bulls, not the Spurs, but I mean,
The Warriors,
Warriors. Like, isn't that kind of what the league hangs its hat on? We all say we hate it, but then people show up to watch it. And then we say, hey, we love parity. And then Oklahoma City plays Indiana and nobody cares.
So I have a little different view on that in terms of, Brett, I'm curious what you think. Because like this upcoming NBA playoffs, I think is personally really fun. Not even just because I'm a massive NBA fan, because I could make a case that 6 to 8 teams could probably win the championship. And I think you could make a legit case that those teams could do that. I think that's better for the league. Now, I do hear the argument of the David versus Goliath thing when you had Kobe and Shaq, Jordan, the Bulls, and the Warriors, where everyone's kind of rooting against a common enemy, unless you're a fan of that team. But I enjoy the parity in the NBA. They haven't had a back-to-back champ in 7 to 8 years.
Right.
First, I think he's bluffing. I think he's kind of saying that he's wants to do things incrementally just so he can throw out some kind of, failed, threats. And then see if it works. And if teams kind of start to listen, and then if they don't, then he'll start to go deeper in the weeds. And as far as like when the Warriors were big and the Bulls were big, they all had foils though.
Yeah, that's true.
The Bulls had to go through the Knicks every single year. So every year in the playoffs, you couldn't wait to see the Bulls and Knicks because they hated each other. The Warriors had, LeBron and the Cavs, and, the Lakers had to try and get through C-Web and the Sacramento for all those years. If it goes like that with the draft picks, we might have, a Golden State with nobody to oppose them.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
And then I think it's going to kind of lean towards what like women's college basketball used to be when it was
just a dominant
when
player.
It was like 5 teams that are actually good. And then the rest of the teams are just, they can't even touch them.
And it was probably even less than that.
Yeah.
There was an era of women's
like
college basketball where 2 teams competing, and UConn won like 10 out of 11, something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I am kind of inherently anti-tanking. Just kind of like, this is professional.
I think most people
sports.
are.
Like even like we don't teach our 9-year-olds to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
we don't see it in the college system. We don't see it in high school. Why would we see it professionally? Now I get it because of what is at stake, because you want the next LeBron James. That's why. I mean, the why is simple. It creates revenue. It affords you a player that could change the fortunes of your franchise. I just think inherently it's very anti-American to me. It's very like anti-sport to me.
Well, you won't see it in college because there's no point.
There's no
benefit
point.
to
exactly.
it.
I know.
But I'm just saying, one thing
to
if
me,
like
it's very just anti American. We're all taught like work hard and like you make it to the top. Like I'm just a believer in like if you
work
for it.
You will fix this if the NBA, the dirty secret is it's impossible to complete trades because you have to match salaries. The NFL, you could trade a player who makes $50 million a year for a player who makes 5 in draft picks.
Right.
In the NBA, it's so hard for superstars to move teams, even though we see it a lot when they force their way out, because you can make more money with the team that you drafted, which incentivizes drafting a superstar over trading for a superstar. And it's just hard to match salaries on deals.
True.
So I think if you got rid of that, we would see more stars moving, and there would be less incentive to just have to draft a star where you can go attacking at someone at the trade deadline.
All right, we can discuss that more in the 3:00 hour. I like that. Plus, what we need to see tonight in the WBC after what played out last night in the WBC, and we will explain hour 2. Plus, we're getting you ready for San Diego State and UNLV senior night at Viejas Arena. Don't go anywhere. It's San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by the Brad versus Everyone podcast. The Raiders are getting set to release quarterback Geno Smith unless they can trade him, according to ESPN. The Bills released cornerback Tyron Johnson and wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Tonight at 5 o'clock, Team USA makes their WBC debut against Brazil. And also tonight, it's senior night down at Viejas Arena against UNLV. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 6 o'clock, and John will have the tip after 7. Dangerous social media trends, media scandals, dumb TikTok boycotts, and more. Keep up with all the online stories mainstream media ignores by listening to the Brad versus Everyone podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, hour 2 here. San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Brent Sperry, the whole crew. See Mike Usher in the house. I'm sure he doesn't necessarily want me saying that, but I
tried to get him to talk on air last week when you were off, and I thought he did, but he actually just talked into my headset, and I was disappointed.
Oh, really? You were having a conversation with him that only you could hear?
I said something to Mike, and I was like, "Oh, I thought he said that over the air."
Mike does okay, and we're putting Mike very much on the spot here. I'm trying to think. In all my years here, which is 8 to 9, he's not even listening. Does Mike speak on air? Because he's produced a number of shows. He'll run the board. Occasionally, though, I've definitely heard Mike's voice on the radio.
Yeah,
on this station. Have I not, Mike, over the years? We have. Yes.
That's Mike was playing songs last week. People were enjoying that coming out of breaks.
No, I know he's doing the work off him behind the scenes, but there are instances where he's also spoken on air on the station. Again, maybe not every single day that he's done the job, but I don't even know what we're talking about.
The longest tenured voice in San Diego
is Mike Usher.
Mike Usher.
Mike has been in the building. He has told me this. I can share this, right? You've been in this building over 40 years. Not in this building, because this building maybe hasn't stood for 40 years. But you've worked for this company. In some form or fashion, the company maybe has changed a name or two for 43 years. 43 years. Sammy, you haven't done that.
No, I certainly have not done that.
Okay, for 43 years. 43 years.
Shout out to today.
So I'm glad we had this conversation. Whoa. That's so random. So this is your 43rd anniversary of starting work in radio. That's insane.
Shout out to Mike Usher.
Congratulations. That's crazy. How did you make it that long? Seriously.
Are you mad we didn't get you a cake?
Oh, there he is. All right.
There he is. He's on air.
All right. Here's what I wanted to mention about the WBC, because I have all of a sudden, I have a little bit more of an affinity for it than I've had at any point in my life, because, it just came to be 20 years ago, mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And now we've seen 5 or 6 instances of it. I was always a little tentative on it. And what really is this? They're kind of forcing it on us. I don't think we're there anymore, because now I feel like the players really want to be a part of it by and large. You see, I'm watching, dude, I'm prepping for San Diego State UNLV last night. I'm watching Australia, Czech Republic. I don't know, what time was that? 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock last night? There's 25,000 people at the Tokyo Dome watching that game. That's not the Japan game. That game was 6 hours later.
Great Britain, Mexico had a big draw this morning.
So I'm people are into it. Okay. Again, is it my favorite thing? Do I like that more than watching Major League Baseball? I don't, but whatever. But last night, what plays out is Japan plays Taipei in their first game, Tokyo Dome. This team has had so much success in the WBC. Some of the best stars in baseball, as we know, are Japanese. And they do what they're supposed to do. They rule Taipei. They win in 7 innings. Shohei Ohtani, of course, hits a grand slam. Why wouldn't he in the second inning? And Japan wins big. So this is what I'm asking of Team USA. Like Team Japan, you're playing at home. Japan's playing at the Tokyo Dome. US is playing at home. They're playing Brazil tonight, correct?
Yep.
You rule Brazil. There's
1,000,000%.
This isn't this is fun and cute and we scored 3 runs in the third and then our bullpen did the job. No, you rule Brazil, because what's the point here? The point of this event is to win it. You're always hosting the final rounds of this event. They're not playing the championship at the Tokyo Dome, which is a complete disadvantage for Japan. You got to win this thing. They've won it before. I know US has won it before, but Japan is the most recent champion, obviously. And it's I don't know. Listen, I'm not disputing the fact that Japanese baseball has been terrific. The Nippon Professional Baseball League is outstanding. There have been so many examples of players coming over and not just playing in the major leagues, but excelling. And some of the best players in the history of baseball are now Japanese, right? Inarguably, when you look at Shohei Ohtani. But like on the other hand, it's like, hey, it'd be nice for like the U.S. to get some of the praise. Like it would be nice for the U.S. to prove that. I mean, the game was was born here, and like we've got good players too. So I guess that's my point. If you're going to play it, if you're going to treat it like it's real, which they are apparently, although Tariq Skubal's pitching one time against like Great Britain, like if you're going to treat it like it's real, go win the thing.
Totally agree. I get excited for it. I think it's fun. We've seen this. The first event like this, obviously the World Cup, most historic, but because there's so many countries where soccer is the number one sport, you have this kind of not even playing field, but from a gambler's perspective, you could bet on a lot of different countries and make the case that they would win. For years in basketball, we talked about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. The 1992 Dream Team was playing a bunch of janitors and
people with like second jobs. Yeah.
People had second jobs who were playing for other countries because they signed up. Now you have legit superstars, Shea playing for Canada, Wemby playing for France. And now in baseball, you have Japan, who is a powerhouse. The Dominican Republic has as many stars as I've seen on a baseball team. Even a guy like Xander Bogaerts playing for Netherlands. Yeah. Xander Bogaerts, even though he's not what he once was, that's still a big name in baseball.
He's got 2 rings.
He got 2 rings. Yeah. So I think the now in all these sports, especially in basketball and baseball, I think the narrative when the U.S. won the last Olympics in basketball is the 2028 Olympics. Are the Americans the favorite? Because LeBron and Steph Curry and some of these guys aren't going to be there. I think the same can be applied for the U.S. is that Major League Baseball, it was ours and it started here. But the fact that all these countries, the influx of talent makes it fun to where, the U.S. are the favorites at -110, but Japan, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, a lot of these teams have not only massive stars on it, but really capable rosters of winning. So I think this is why all these events, Olympic basketball and WBC, and we just saw Olympic hockey, which was kind of exploded onto the scene. There's a lot more parity in it, which I think is creating more interest in a thing like the WBC.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think ultimately it's good for a sport when the interest is beyond just one country. Like that, the one knock, I guess, on the NFL has been, well, it's an American game. Now, to its credit, they've recognized this. How do we expand? How do we create more revenue? They're playing 10 plus international games, I want to say, next year. They're playing everywhere in the world, right? They're literally playing. Are they playing in Australia?
They're playing in Australia, playing in Madrid, Mexico.
So they're playing everywhere. But, American football by and large is not played around the world. Where baseball does benefit is the game is being played now in more countries, certainly than American football. I mean, I have to imagine who's playing football
outside of Canada.
Spain.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, again, I'm not saying there's not clubs or academies or right. Americans over there that are playing some level of football, but it's just so different. Like soccer, so easy to play worldwide, right? Hockey, I feel like is played in a number of different countries, obviously worldwide. American football isn't really like that. Baseball has certainly, I feel like, spread. It feels like over the last 25 years with the WBC.
Well, it's easy to tell that people aren't playing American football worldwide because we haven't seen an influx of European or outside of the U.S. and Mexico and Canada players that play football. It's not like the NBA.
Name or 2 or 3.
In the expansion program. Yeah. Brett, to your point about the NBA in the last segment, you talked about every dynasty needed a foil. And I think that's what we got here in the WBC a little bit is there is some intrigue. Japan beat the U.S. last time. The Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani in the 9th inning, that was fun. That was a get to your TV moment. Like, is it really going to happen? Are the teammates going to face off against each other with, down 1 run? I think the fact that there is more continuity in it. And so we were talking about last week, you have Major League Baseball stars. Baseball is such a star-driven sport. And I mean, you have the Dominican Republic has stars up and down this thing that are playing for your favorite team. So I'm excited for it. And to your point, they better mercy rule them tonight. There is zero. They won 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, like, who's pitching for Brazil tonight?
Let's look it up.
Like, I mean, is he a a Major League Baseball player? My guess would be no. I mean, that's kind
They
of
got a
the point
bunch of like double A ball guys on their team.
Yeah. So like tonight,
Bo Tahaski.
yeah, like you got to hit him. You got to hit Bo.
You got to hit Bo.
So, and I hope they do. But again, I guess that's my point of the WBC, that if I'm gonna sit here and consume it and react to it and discuss it, we better win it. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. I'm not.
I agree.
Dominican has a great team. I think Japan has a phenomenal team.
But at the end of the day, the depth of talent resides in the U.S. I mean, the U.S. has up and down. I think the question mark, though, if you really analyze these rosters, is the U.S. went young. Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt.
I kind of like that. Honestly.
PCA. I like it too. Kind of like with the Olympic hockey, there was a lot of concern that they left some of the best goal scorers home.
Yep.
Not going with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, even though they didn't have a big year last year. Is that going to come back to bite them? I think there's a lot of interesting storylines with the WBC.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So anyway, that is tonight. Again, the first game for the U.S. in pool play. Like I'm just looking at the like, even MLB.com is having a hard time selling us on this game. Like in terms of like what Brazil is going to really present, what type of challenges Brazil will present for the U.S. I'm not sure. So yeah, go run rule them is the point, which is what Japan did last night.
I think it's funny because some teams are going to be bounced already tonight.
Oh, is that right?
Well, my favorite team, Chechnya or whatever, that's got all the warehouse workers and stuff. Yeah, they're 0-2 and they got another game tonight already. So, they're essentially.
Will the Chechnyans stay alive? Question for the wrap.
Yeah, we'll put down the wrap coming up at 4 p.m. This is only the second time Brazil's ever been in this event. I'm sorry if you bought a ticket for this. I hope it ends after 5 innings.
Well, I think you would be excited.
If you're up by 15 after 5, the game's over. If you're up by 10 after 7, the game's over. If this game doesn't end before 9 innings, they're not winning the WBC. Quote me on it. All right.
More or less runs than the Padres yesterday.
20. Hey, I told Kristen that. I'm like, they won 27-5 yesterday. She's like, wait, what? How's that?
That is crazy.
And then one of the instructors at Orange Theory, where I go, my buddy James, I walk in. He's like, "There's no chance you're gonna get out of there with a lead." So he was referencing our 27. Like, could I hold a 27-5 lead? He's like,
yesterday.
He's like, for the whole game. I'm like, no, for one inning.
No, James is right.
I couldn't hold a 20. No, James is like a in shape dude who's in like his 30s, I think. I feel like if I put him, he's like, I could throw like 60. I feel like James, like an in shape 30-year-old, could preserve a 22-run lead.
Can he throw in the 60s?
He could throw like 60. There's no way everyone's going to get a hit.
Did James think that he could do it?
I convinced him that he's like, I don't think I could. And I think I convinced him he could. And I think he agreed. All right. We're going to get back to where we started on the other side. The latest on the potential sale of the San Diego Padres, plus getting you ready for senior night at Viejas Arena. Jonathan Rifkin takes over at 4. John Schaefer, Sammy Long. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. We do remind you tonight is senior night. Viejas Arena, Aztecs and UNLV. White out, by the way. So wear white if you're heading down. Pre-game coverage at 6. I've got the tip for you coming up at 7 p.m. I don't have a lot of, all white Aztec work gear because how would you? But I do have a white quarter zip that I have specifically kept in my closet for basically whiteout games because I don't wear a white quarter zip very often. It's white. It's you kind of stick out wearing it.
I got to be honest.
I'm wearing it tonight.
Definitely the person that would not get the memo that was a whiteout.
You'd be wearing like all black.
Like, yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah. Well, no, and not everyone gets the memo. That's the thing. But that's an issue, right?
Yeah, like Penn State, like your alma mater.
Yeah, I like. If it's a whiteout, but here's the thing: if it's a blue out or a blackout, if it's a blackout, you can wear red. You kind of whatever, it's dark color, or you can wear navy, dark color. Nobody really is going to notice. But when it's a whiteout, and then people are wearing like green or yellow, and
you are like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
at least that's simple. For Wisconsin football, sometimes they'll do the basic white and the basic like red out.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'll do like what they call like the candy stripe.
Yeah, stripe out.
To where one section will be white, then red, then white, then red. That gets confusing because you'll get
people say it? Do people back in the day, 20 years ago, on our ticket,
they used to notify them.
It would say wear white.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But now there aren't tickets.
Or it's e-tickets.
So it's an e-ticket. So you bring up a good point, Sammy, which is like, do you get the memo? If you're a season ticket holder, if you're a ticket buyer, are you aware?
Like, I'm going to be 100% honest. I didn't know it was a whiteout tonight until someone, Rich McGuire, texted us on that thing. It was like, hey, it's a whiteout tonight. And I was like, oh, it's a whiteout tonight. I mean,
it is a little concerning. But then again, you don't have a ticket for the game. So maybe that's why you didn't realize,
my high school, my principal got like legit mad at me one time because I went to Rancho Bernardo High. It was blue. And I would always wear, when I was a kid, I'd wear Chiefs gear on Fridays, red Fridays.
Yeah.
We played Mount Carmel and it'd be all red. So I was the only kid in school that was wearing all red. My principal got like legit mad. Like, did you not understand this? I go, I'm going to be honest with you. I care about the Chiefs more than I care about this high school. So let's just keep it a buck.
Hilarious.
I got like in legit trouble for that.
I mean, I will say that like the in arena or in stadium impact of like a color out,
it's cool.
It can be pretty impactful. Again, like you said, as somebody that graduated from Penn State and was there when they started the whiteout, like it's a pretty impressive feat. And here's the other thing, especially for an outdoor game. Let's say it's like 34 degrees at Penn State. Yet people still find a way to be wearing white coats, white sweatshirts, white gloves, white hats.
This is not an indictment anywhere else in the country. I'm not just saying this because you're here. Penn State, like that is a whiteout. Like
they're going crazy with it.
That is like, I mean, it's crazy when you see the one clip. You're playing Michigan, and it's literally there's
snow.
It's like snow. Like you think there's snow on the ground. That is. It's cool when it happens.
And I don't know, like I feel like it wasn't Penn State that started. I feel like there's been that color type effect going on longer than that. But I think the first time it really. I've always said that the white kind of like it makes it pop a little bit because again, San Diego State will go to like Colorado State. It's an orange out. You're like, what is this
that is hideous.
Or the other day, Boise had a blue out, but it was like royal. It's just kind of odd to look at. Where I think black can be cool because you can make an arena look like it's so darkened. It's like a really cool effect. Where white now all of a sudden it kind of pops, in the arena. What do you got, Brett?
According to Google, the whiteout in college football was created by Penn State marketing and branding consultant Guido Diella in 2004.
Yeah. Isn't that insane?
Shout out to your alma mater.
Just like someone was like, hey, I have an idea. Let's just
everyone wear white.
Yeah.
So say this job.
And that's what they're doing tonight at San Diego State. Again, I would get there early. If you're heading down there tonight, 7:00 tip, there are senior night festivities. I'm telling you, some of the most enjoyable memories I have covering Aztec basketball is senior night. It is so cool, man. To see the reaction, the affinity that people have for these players. They've given everything to a program. Like you think about like the Nathan Mensahs and the Lamont Butlers and so many greats over the years. I think Matt Mitchell and Jordan Shackle in recent history. And again, Miles Bird was on a national championship team 4 years ago. Reese Dixon Waters played in the Sweet 16 against Connecticut 2 years ago. So they should be celebrated. Has this gone perfect down the stretch? No, hasn't. They've lost 4 or 5, But if there's anyone that should pick them up, it's the 12,000 people that will be there tonight.
Oh, totally. I remember listening to, Miles Bird came on your show when he was considering going to the NBA draft, maybe trying to be a second round pick or coming back. And I remember you asked him, is there any, if you don't go to the NBA, if you're not getting the looks there, will you go somewhere else? And he unequivocally was like, absolutely not. I'm staying at San Diego State. So yeah, it's always cool. Senior nights are great. Everyone, obviously all the guys have worked super hard for this whole, their whole careers, and it ain't done yet. So it's get to celebrate a little bit more.
Here's a knock on the WBC, not for it to take a stray like this, but the issue with playing the WBC in March is it's March. You know what I mean? It's not April. Yesterday. It's not April, right? So like, and it's fine. It's not that, they're playing right now. We're not in March Madness, but conference tournaments. I mean, if you're a sports fan, even if you're not a college basketball fan, this is about the time of year you start paying attention, right? Next week, you've got the bigger leagues.
People want to fill out those brackets.
Yeah, so people get into it. And the WBC, I guess, is kind of going head to head with March Madness.
That is not smart.
Isn't that right, though? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe the championship is on, making it up like a Wednesday, and more of the tournament games are in that Thursday, Friday realm, or maybe they're playing Tuesdays and Wednesdays later on in the tournament. But yeah, like there's no perfect time for the WBC. All-Star break, do you extend it out and do the tournament mid-season? These guys are already.
I think that because then, then you go after March Madness, then you start getting into the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs. So, go right then. I think the All-Star break would make a lot of sense. If this was in July, there's no NFL, there's no NBA, NHL, no college basketball, no college football.
Yeah, have it to yourself.
I think you would be able to. I don't think the MLB wants that because it would dwarf the MLB All-Star numbers.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you tie it into an All-Star. Yeah, just food for thought. All right, we're going to get back to a potential mystery buyer for the San Diego Padres. On the other side, here until 4, J-Riff takes over at 4 p.m. Stay with us, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Wellness Unmasked with Dr. Nicole Saphier. In NFL news, the Raiders are getting set to release quarterback Geno Smith unless they can trade him. The Bills released cornerback Taron Johnson and wide receiver Curtis Samuel. And tonight at 5:00, Team USA makes their WBC debut against Brazil. And also tonight, it's senior night down at Viejas Arena against the UNLV. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will begin at 6:00, and John will have the tip after 7. Medical headlines, they're everywhere, but what do they really mean? Join Dr. Nicole Saphier and her Wellness Unmasked for a deeper look, plus the latest of the Maha movement. Listen to Wellness Unmasked with wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin coming up from 4 to 6. Ben Fletcher's got your Aztec pregame at 6. I'll be on the call tonight for the Aztecs and UNLV at 7 p.m. Started the show, Sammy, talking about Joe Tsai, who earlier today, if you missed it, was reported in Sportico to having sold some of his shares in LAFC. So a minority owner of LAFC. And this is a franchise. By the way, these MLS franchises now are worth over $1 billion because he sold shares and the value of the franchise is $1.25 billion. And I want to say SDFC was bought for $500 million 2 years ago. So that's gone up probably too. But we're putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe it's fair, maybe it's unfair, right? That, hey, Joe Tsai has sold some shares, not $1.25 billion worth of shares, but whatever, some shares. And the Padres are for sale, and he owns a number of other sports franchises, and he resides in San Diego. Could this be tied potentially to being a bidder for the Padres? And I said, and I think you agree, if it is, then good. I mean, he certainly checks a lot of boxes if he were, in fact, to be interested here.
Yeah, we're talking about off the top of the show. It's like he tried to buy the Carolina Panthers, the Brooklyn Nets, although they haven't had a lot of success on the court. They've swung big. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. They've tried to kind of do everything in their power, make the Barclays Center an experience when you got Madison Square Garden, one of the most famous arenas right down the street with the Knicks. So he's obviously tapped into the San Diego market. And I just feel like with the lockout looming, knowing that you're going to be in the red for a little while, because we might not get baseball next year, and you're trying to, who knows how that affects maybe baseball viewership if you're a year off. But does that tank it? Does that make it more? There's all questions that, we'll get in years to come. But if you're looking to buy a baseball team, knowing that there's a lockout coming, you got to think that you're interested in putting out a winner if you're going to go through some years of not either having the team or dealing with the Dodgers in your own division, which you spend money left and right.
I wonder what a sale would say about the pending lockout. Like if you sell a team, does that mean the future owner is pretty confident that the labor dispute will be resolved? Like, why would you buy a $3 billion franchise if there's true concern about missing like a season? You spend $3 billion on something that's going to be broken for a year? Or does it give you a little bit of insight that, yeah, there's going to be a labor dispute, but it won't be a full stoppage? Like, isn't it an interesting time to invest? I'm going to spend $3 billion without knowing what the future of the sport looks like.
Well, that's what makes me think that whoever's into it is into putting a winner out there.
Right,
because if you're looking at how do I make money fast or a kind of, quick influx of cash, buying into a baseball team wouldn't necessarily be that right now, considering you have all these things. Is there going to be a salary cap? Is there going to be a salary floor? The players don't seem really motivated to getting a salary cap. It's really just the owners. So there's a lot of drama around baseball. But if you're going to deal with all that, if you're going to deal with the headache of that, and again, the fact that you play in a tough division, not only the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, if you're going to get into that, you feel like you're in it to try to put the best team out there on the field. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just, billionaires think differently than
transaction.
Than us three do. But I feel like if you are going to deal with the headache of that, and you brought up something earlier, it made me think. I mean, look what happened to Dean Spanos. Dean Spanos is hated in the city for taking out the Chargers, for taking them out of San Diego. And you're going from having Peter Seidler, who is a beloved owner in this town and a really respected owner in sports, especially in a sport like baseball, where you don't always get people who are trying to spend with the big boys, and to kind of take over for that and just put it on the back burner. I mean, maybe you want to be public enemy number one in San Diego, but I don't feel like that's in your best interest.
Yeah, I wouldn't forecast that. Again, you never know, but I wouldn't forecast that. What do you got, bro?
Do you think that with the impending lockout that maybe someone would get it for a cheaper price?
No,
because who's going to want to buy a company that is essentially going to be closed for a year?
I mean,
where if they wait, then the Padres are going to have to sit on it for a year and not really be. I guess they could sell the team during the lockout, but who's going to want to buy it during the lockout? I mean,
it's interesting, but I feel like if the Padres are putting it on the market, they're not putting it on the market at a discounted rate. Because they chose to do it before the lockout. There must be a reason as to why. Did they just want to get out as quickly as they could? Because reportedly, they're still going to get a record sale. Now, I know it's been a few years since the Mets moved, and everything just goes up and up and up. But if you're going to get a record price, I mean, look at it this way. The franchise was bought for $800, and that was how long ago? Not terribly long. 11, 12 years ago, 2014. And if you're going to move something 12 years later for $3.2 billion, I think it's a
good business for yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is an interesting point. I mean, I've thought about it, Brian. I mean, smart people are not in the business of being dumb with their money. So, I don't think you just give you don't just $3 billion. We'll see about the lockout. There must be some news that people are aware of about the future of the game. You don't just buy a team I wonder if this is the last year they're ever going to play baseball. I mean, we all agree that's not the case.
But Brett, to your point, I do think. I mean, Jon Seiler clearly is not interested in running this baseball team. And it's not, I'm not even going to rip Jon Seiler because he got thrust into this because of obvious unfortunate circumstances with Peter Seiler passing. And honestly, credit to Jon Seiler if he doesn't want to be a part of owning the team for just kind of getting out from underneath it and going, hey, you know what? I want to get this to somebody who does care and who wants to put everything into it. Honestly, shout out to Jon Seiler. But to your point, Brent, I mean, if you were selling this coming out of the lockout, and let's say they come to an agreement on a salary cap, this is complete thinking. I mean, you might sell for an all-time high. You could be low because maybe the MLB needs a couple of years to get back to the excitement that's been the last couple seasons. But I think that's probably been a hesitation of people getting into baseball is knowing, hey, I don't have the money the Dodgers have, or I don't have the money the Yankees have. If you're coming out of this with a salary cap, I mean, if the Seilers held on to this thing, you might be able to double what you're getting because people are maybe more interested in owning a Major League Baseball team.
We had, I forget who it was, the writer at Sportico that broke the Shield Seiler lawsuit and then reported on some of these potential buyers. Eben Novi Williams with us, okay? And you're leading me down a path. Oh, yeah, I know what he said. He said there is a belief in baseball among the big four professional sports in America that franchises in baseball are actually undervalued. And I'm not exactly sure as to why, but in other sports, your annual revenue commands a larger sale price than what it does in baseball. So for example, the Padres had $500 million in annual revenue, according to Sportico, and they may sell for $3 billion. That's 6 times revenue. But in other sports, you might sell for 10 or 12 times revenue. So I'm making your point, which is the way you get 10 or 12 times revenue is by putting a cap. Because without that cap, you're right. What is allowing the Padres to be on the same playing field with the Dodgers or with the Yankees or with the Mets? It's a harder hill. It's a higher hill to climb up. But I think when you cap it spending, you're really increasing the value of franchises that aren't the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets. You're lifting up the entire sport. Maybe you're not lifting up the Dodgers, but you're lifting up the 10 or 20 teams that are kind of chasing the Dodgers. But I don't think, here's the thing. I think most people that follow this sport don't think of salary cap as coming. We may say there's all these everyone's like, we're not going to play until there's a salary cap. The owners can say that. I don't buy that for 1 second. There's never been a cap in baseball for 150 years. And now it's coming because Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers. So I don't think there's going to be a cap. Are there going to be changes? Yeah. The luxury tax thresholds and numbers. And yes, there'll be, and probably significant change. But are we going to start 2027 221's the cap? Dodgers, go get rid of 5 guys.
Well, that's the thing is they're not. The Dodgers are going to have Shohei Ohtani. They're going to have Kyle Tucker.
They're not going to be forced to part ways.
Trust me. The last thing Major League Baseball is going to do is go, you know what? Let's take Shohei Ohtani off the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a massive moneymaker for them. And I was actually listening to Colin Cowherd yesterday morning. He was making this point. While salary cap is important, but everyone focused on the salary cap because it's the Dodgers. They win. The Yankees and Mets to a lesser extent are winning, and people, they want to win. Teams want to win. They're frustrated with that. But in a weird way, we crush those teams. And although the Dodgers are playing with a bankroll that teams don't have, at least they're trying to win. When you get to like the least respectable part about baseball is the A's, is the Marlins, is these teams that it's like the second in opening day, the first pitch is thrown on opening day, we're crossing them off the list of World Series contenders or winners.
Right.
I mean, is that the only sport that we do that in?
No, I mean, is it though? Because I mean, we look at the NBA. Is anyone saying on opening night in the NBA?
That's fair.
For these, there's 6 teams, they have no shot. And
That's
are you
fair.
saying in the NFL, like, was there anyone saying in the NFL, like, hey, Shedeur Sanders, he's got an arm?
The one thing I would say though, and you're right,
That one lady.
if you
you
had told someone the Seattle Seahawks before the season win the Super Bowl, they would have called you crazy. I mean, they'd have been like, that's absolutely insane. The equivalent to the Seattle Seahawks heading into last year of baseball this season would be like the Pirates to me.
Was it? What were the Seahawks? What was the record in 2024?
They
like
it was
roughly,
like 6 games. They won like 6 games.
They were 6-11. Then they won
I don't want to, don't quote me on that, but they had them and the Patriots had like
so they had massive
the
turnarounds.
18th best odds to win the Super Bowl for the season.
And then they played each other. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
They went 10-7.
Okay, never mind. 10-7.
So it's more like, so it's almost more like if the Padres won the World Series.
I guess it's yes, that equates.
Which again,
a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, and is somewhat unexpected, but also shouldn't be that unexpected because in baseball, teams that win 90 games can win a World Series,
It's a tough conversation. Yeah, it's like
it is. I mean, it's an interesting conversation. It is.
I'm not worried about the salary cap. It's not going to happen. That boat sailed a long time ago. If they were going to do that, they would have had to do it almost 40 years ago before, players with $200 million contracts was commonplace. Now it's too late. They can't do it. It's not too late though to put caps on deferral money, which is what I want them to do. I want them to put the cap on deferral money on how much money you can not spend or pretend to spend. Years. Yeah. That's what I'm more concerned about. I don't care about the Dodgers cap or anything. I just want them to put some sort of limits on the deferral money.
All right, we can continue to discuss. Plus, J-Riff will swing by and join. We'll have the final 2 hours, in fact, of the show from 4 to 6 here today on San Diego Sports 760. Plus, what's playing out in our nation's capital involving the future of college sports. Aztecs basketball at 7, pregame coverage at 6. This is San Diego Sports 760. All right, J-Riff coming up at 4 p.m. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Aztecs basketball tonight at 6. Pregame coverage with Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long. And then I'll be on the call tonight at 7 p.m. I was just between, at the break there. I laugh because the only thing you can do is laugh as opposed to cry, because there's this college sports commission that has been at the White House discussing the future of college sports, which I think is admirable. But the reason I don't laugh, I'm just I don't know if you get people in a room and figure this out, guys. This has been playing out now for years. Nobody's got control of it. I don't know I don't know if anyone knows where it's eventually going to land.
No, it's free enterprise.
It's the end of the day. Just put someone in charge of it. If the NCAA has no teeth, I understand. The government has other business to handle other than Texas A&M. You know what I mean? So it's just but nobody knows where it's heading, and everyone loves their alma mater by and large. You like college sports. The second most popular sport in this country is not the NBA; it's college football.
Yeah,
it's not particularly close. You look at the ratings; they're not even close. I mean, you look at NBA finals compared to the college football playoff. The college football playoff, I think, might run circles around it. And there's dozens of college football games that get millions of viewers every weekend. That's not the same with the NBA or even Major League Baseball. I guess it's a long way of me saying I don't have the solutions either. And so I respect the fact that someone's trying to get to the bottom of it, but I feel like we've been doing this for years on end now.
Right. Well, we went from coaches having all the power in institutions to where guys weren't getting paid.
Right. Can't transfer.
Yep. If they buried you on the depth chart, you were kind of screwed. I believe it was playing on his last name, Jalen Smith. Remember the linebacker from Notre Dame who blew his knee out?
I think it was Jalen Smith. He had an insurance policy on his knee.
Yeah. So he was going to be a top 5 pick and to go to the Cowboys in the 3rd round. So you've seen some horror stories of guys not making any money, potential stars, and then not getting any chips for it at all. And now it's just so far the other way. I mean, you have guys that are just, I want to go play here. I'm leaving my school. Who knows if they're even paying back the money that they got from the NIL deals? I mean, it's crazy how we're in a world where it used to be it's hard to recruit high school kids to come to your school. Now you're recruiting other college kids and then recruiting your own kids to stay. I mean, you're constantly on the recruiting trail, no matter if you're winning a national championship game or you're the worst team in college football.
And it's a long way of us saying that anytime you may think, let's say you're an Aztec fan, say, oh my gosh, I'm so worried. Oh, we're gonna have roster turnover. You're not alone. To my point, Texas has extreme roster turnover. Texas A&M, P4, group of 6. At the end of the day, all of the programs are dealing with this same fact. There's unlimited free agency and there's no salary cap. What sport, Dutch has made this point, there's not a lot of sports like that, but probably in the history of society. Yet college sports remain very popular, obviously, right? As we touched on, college football, people watch as much as anything other than NFL in this country. So I think ultimately, and I know some people's opinions and tunes have changed on college athletics over the last handful of years because I call Aztec games and I do this show and I see what people respond on our text line or what they say on social media. And I respect that opinion. I would say, as we sit here today, just not trust the process, but there will be a day where this is more controlled, the environment, than it is today. That's what I would say. And we're not forever off. We're not going to be having these conversations in 25 years. They will have some type of, I don't even know what the right term is. I used this earlier on a podcast. In racing, they put restrictor plates on cars, right, to limit their speeds. I don't know anything about racing, but I know that. I feel like there'll be some type of regulation, parameters, restrictor plates that will allow the system to operate. I don't even know if more fairly. It'll just allow it to operate in a better fashion than it's operating right now.
Well, it'll be more even. Because that's the whole point of restrictor plates is that all the cars are basically equal. Exactly. So whoever the better driver is going to be the one that's going to win the race. And it's not like that. They had that famous line in Days of Thunder when Tom Cruise was like, yeah, I came to do NASCAR because of restrictor plates because everything's even. It's up to the drivers. If you're in F1 or something, you need a brand name Unser or Andretti to win. So I'm all for putting restrictor plates on college, because eventually, if we don't, we're gonna have like the Alabamas of the world that are gonna have like $80 million in NIL, and then we're gonna have like San Diego State, who's got like 5, and it's like you can't compete with that.
We were just talking about it. LSU. You're saying it's 40 now.
I read for their roster next year is over 40 million.
I mean, Lane Kiffin, people are killing him from leaving Ole Miss to LSU and whatever you think about that. But if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm like, yeah, I got $40 million a year to play with to go out and get recruits. You're going to have a leg up on 95% of college football simply because of the money that you have. And to your point, you're competing with a select group. A select group of schools have that kind of money. It's like people complain about baseball and the pay disparities and things like that.
That's exactly right. But probably to a larger extent, obviously, than even baseball. Like Danny Cannell today said on Sirius XM, Brian Kelly said that Lane Kiffin's current roster at LSU is over $40 million. Brian Kelly would probably know because he was just there at LSU. Or maybe
and that team didn't even win.
I know. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to make the point. Like, again, I think not everyone has to have the same amount of money. You could win a World Series without being the Dodgers, just like you could win a national championship in college basketball without being, having the richest roster. But money helps. It obviously helps. I mean, the more you have
more ways to win with money.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. We basically covered everything over the last 2 hours.
We talked a lot of stuff.
We've solved everything. I do want to remind our listeners that Jonathan Rifkin is standing by, and we appreciate Jonathan hanging out for the next couple of hours. So he will have you until 6 p.m. Then you're heading down to Viejas Arena tonight.
Yes.
You're going to be with Ben Fletcher?
Little pregame.
Outside?
Outside, yeah. Hopefully it's not pouring rain again like last time I was there.
Was it rain? What?
No, last time I was there, remember it was a downpour? What game was that?
That's a bit of
it rained.
Okay, it rained.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's raining tonight. Because it was lovely outside.
Otherwise, I'm a bad luck.
You're going to bail this year. But you'll be down there with Ben Fletcher at 6 p.m. So Sammy and Ben will have you covered from 6 to 7. Then I'll be inside tonight for senior night. We've got you covered. And final home game for Reese Dixon Waters, potentially Miles Bird. He does have a year of eligibility, and others as well. And again, tip-off just after 7 p.m. We said it earlier. Yeah, by the true definition, of course, it's not a must-win. But if you really think that you can win the Mountain West tournament, it kind of feels like a game you got to win for San Diego State. Sammy, appreciate you, man. Thanks for hanging out.
You guys are the best. Thanks for having me this week.
We will see you down at Viejas Arena coming up in about 2 hours. And again, Jonathan Rifkin standing by. He's got you covered. After this timeout, our pregame coverage at 6. I'll be on the air at 7 p.m. Jonathan Rifkin on the other side. This is San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app.